The autumn air carried a sharp chill as Barron TRUMP's motorcade pulled up to Beckman's, an upscale men's boutique on Fifth Avenue. At 24, Barron had grown into his tall frame, standing at 6 feet 7 inches with a composed demeanor that balanced youthful energy with the cultivated restraint of someone who had spent a lifetime in the public eye. "We'll be quick today, Jackson," Barron said to his lead Secret Service agent, a stocky man with salt and pepper hair who nodded with professional efficiency. Inside, the boutique staff greeted him with practiced warmth as he browsed through tailored suits for an upcoming charity dinner. The shop was quiet, save for the soft classical music playing through hidden speakers and the occasional murmur between Barron and the attentive sales associate. As the associate disappeared into the back to retrieve a different size, Barron's gaze drifted to the large storefront window. Outside, a young man sat hunched against the building's facade, a small cardboard sign propped against his knees. Unlike the usual flow of pedestrians who passed by without a glance, Barron found himself studying the young man's face, noticeably clean-shaven despite his worn clothing, with alert eyes that seemed to hold more resignation than desperation. "Mr. Trump, I have the 40-second long you requested," the associate said, returning with a charcoal gray suit draped carefully over his arm. Barron tried on the suit, approved the minor alterations, and completed his purchase. As he waited for the garment to be bagged, his attention returned to the window and the young man outside, who was now offering a polite thank you to an elderly woman who had dropped some coins into his cup. "Is there anything else I can help you with today, Mr. Trump?" the associate asked, extending the shopping bag. "Actually, yes," Barron replied, accepting the bag while reaching for his wallet. "Could you tell me about the coffee shop around the corner? Is it any good?" After receiving directions, Barron exited the boutique with his security detail flanking him. Instead of heading directly to the waiting SUV, he paused. "Jackson, I'd like to speak with him," he said, gesturing toward the young man. The agent's expression tightened slightly. "Sir, that's not advisable without—" "I understand your concerns," Barron said quietly. "But I'm just going to talk to him. Right here, in full view." Reluctantly, Jackson positioned himself nearby as Barron approached the young man, whose eyes widened in recognition. "Hi there," Barron said, extending his hand. "I'm Barron." "I know who you are," the young man replied, hesitantly accepting the handshake. "I'm Tyler Matthews." "Tyler, would you like to join me for some coffee and maybe something to eat?" Tyler glanced at the imposing security detail, then back at Barron's face, searching for any sign of mockery or insincerity. Finding none, he slowly gathered his few possessions. "Yes," he said finally. "Yes, I think I would." The coffee shop was a small, warm space with exposed brick walls and the rich aroma of freshly ground beans. As Barron and Tyler entered, two Secret Service agents quickly secured a corner table away from windows, while Jackson remained close to Barron. The other patrons pretended not to notice, though their furtive glances and whispered conversations suggested otherwise. "Order whatever you'd like," Barron said as they approached the counter. Tyler hesitated, scanning the menu with careful deliberation. "Just a black coffee would be fine," he said finally. "And to eat?" Barron pressed gently. After another pause, Tyler added, "A turkey sandwich, if that's okay." Barron ordered the same for himself, plus a selection of pastries for the table. When the barista recognized him and tried to comp their order, Barron politely insisted on paying. At the table, an awkward silence settled between them as Tyler wrapped his cold hands around the warm mug. The Secret Service maintained a discreet perimeter, professional but ever vigilant. "Thank you for this," Tyler said finally. "Not many people would—" His voice trailed off as he took a small, careful bite of his sandwich. "How long have you been on the street?" Barron asked. 4 months and 13 days, Tyler answered with surprising precision. "But I'm not usually on Fifth Avenue. I normally stay closer to the shelters downtown. Today was different because I had a job interview this morning." Barron raised an eyebrow. "How did it go?" Tyler's forced smile provided the answer before his words. "They said they'd call, but they always say that when they notice the shelter's address on your application." He took another bite of his sandwich, chewing slowly as if to make it last. "Before this, I had an apartment in Queens with my mom. She got sick, pancreatic cancer, and the medical bills piled up fast, even with insurance. I dropped out of community college to work full-time, but it wasn't enough." Tyler's voice remained steady, his tone matter-of-fact rather than self-pitying. "After she passed, I couldn't keep up with the rent. We were already behind, and her funeral costs—" He shrugged. "The landlord gave me 2 weeks." "I'm sorry about your mother," Barron said quietly. "She was the strongest person I've ever known," Tyler replied, a flash of pride momentarily brightening his expression. "Raised me by herself, worked 2 jobs, never complained. She made me promise to finish school someday." Barron watched as Tyler discreetly wrapped half of his sandwich in a napkin, tucking it into his backpack for later. "What kind of work did you do before?" Barron asked. "I worked at an auto body shop, and I was good at it. But then I started missing shifts when Mom needed me for hospital visits." Tyler fidgeted with his coffee cup. "I've tried to get back into that line of work, but it's hard without reliable transportation. And to be honest, I probably don't look very trustworthy these days." "Where are you staying now?" "Different places. Shelters when I can get in, which isn't often. Sometimes church basements. There's a guy who lets me sleep in his garage when it gets really cold, in exchange for helping with his landscaping business." Tyler met Barron's gaze directly. "I know what you might be thinking, but I don't drink or do drugs. Never have. My mom was too strict for that," he added with a small, genuine smile. "And I'm not giving up. I apply for jobs every day at the library computers. I just need one break, you know." Barron nodded, struck by the absence of resentment in Tyler's voice. Despite everything, the young man spoke without bitterness or entitlement, just a pragmatic assessment of his situation and a quiet determination to improve it. As they finished their coffee, Tyler asked Barron about his own life, seeming genuinely interested rather than merely polite. Barron found himself sharing stories about college, his interest in real estate development, and the challenges of finding his own path with a famous last name. "Must be nice, though," Tyler said thoughtfully, "to have doors open for you." "It is," Barron admitted, appreciating Tyler's candor. "I've had advantages I didn't earn, but sometimes having doors opened for you means never knowing if you could have opened them yourself." Tyler nodded slowly. "I can see that. Still, beats having doors slammed in your face." The simple truth of this statement hung between them as they prepared to leave. Tyler extended his hand. "Thank you again for the coffee and conversation. It meant a lot. Not just the food, but being treated like a person, you know?" As they shook hands, an idea began to form in Barron's mind, one that went beyond a meal and a momentary connection. The Trump International Hotel lobby gleamed with marble and gold accents as Barron strode through with purpose 3 days later. He'd spent the intervening time making calls and arranging details, pushing past the initial skepticism he'd encountered. "Mr. Trump, good to see you," said Marjorie Wilkins, the hotel's executive manager, rising from her seat in the upscale lobby cafe. Her smile was professional, but her eyes held questions. "Thank you for meeting on short notice," Barron replied, settling into the chair across from her. "Has my office sent over the information about Tyler Matthews?" "Yes, though I must admit, this is unusual." She tapped her tablet. "We typically have a thorough vetting process for all employees, especially given our clientele." Barron nodded. "I understand, but I'm asking you to make an exception for the interview, not the standards." In the corner of the lobby, Tyler waited nervously, dressed in clothes Barron had arranged for him. Simple but appropriate business attire from a department store. His hair was freshly cut, his face clean-shaven, but it was the renewed sense of dignity in his posture that most transformed him. "What exactly did you see in this young man?" Marjorie asked, glancing toward Tyler. "Potential," Barron answered simply. "And resilience. He doesn't blame the world for his circumstances. He just needs a genuine opportunity." After a thoughtful pause, Marjorie gestured for Tyler to join them. As he approached, Barron stood. "Tyler, this is Ms. Wilkins, the executive manager. I'll leave you two to talk." He extended his hand to Tyler, who grasped it firmly. "Thank you," Tyler said quietly. "Whatever happens, I won't forget this." "Just be yourself," Barron advised. "That's who I'm vouching for." Later that afternoon, Barron received a call from Marjorie. "We're giving him a position on the maintenance staff," she informed him. "Starting part-time, with the possibility of full-time after a 90-day probationary period." "And housing?" Barron asked. "As you suggested, we'll arrange temporary accommodations in the staff quarters until he finds something permanent." That evening, Barron called Tyler with the news. "I don't know what to say." Tyler's voice wavered slightly over the phone. "I promise I won't let you down." "This isn't charity," Barron clarified. "It's an investment in someone who deserves a chance. The rest is up to you." "I understand," Tyler replied, his voice steadying with resolve. "And I'm ready." As Barron ended the call, he reflected on how easily he could have walked past Tyler that day, how many others he had walked past before. It was a sobering thought, but also a motivating one. Sometimes the most significant changes began with the smallest diversions from our regular paths. A light snow dusted Manhattan as Barron's motorcade pulled up to the Trump International Hotel 2 months later. He hadn't planned to check on Tyler personally. That would have felt too much like monitoring, but a business meeting in the hotel provided a natural opportunity. The lobby was bustling with holiday travelers and staff dressed in subtle, festive attire. Barron spotted Marjorie near the concierge desk and approached her. "Mr. Trump, what a pleasant surprise," she greeted him. "I was hoping you might have an update on Tyler Matthews," Barron said, keeping his tone casual. Marjorie's expression brightened. "Perfect timing. He should be finishing his shift shortly." She glanced at her watch. "He's been on our PM maintenance rotation. Would you like me to call him?" "If it's not an inconvenience." While they waited, Marjorie didn't hold back her assessment. "I should tell you, I was skeptical at first, concerned this might be more about a good deed than good business. I was wrong." She pulled up Tyler's employee record on her tablet. "Perfect attendance. Quick learner. He's already training on our building management systems, which is unusual for someone so new. The head of maintenance requested him specifically for the executive floors after he fixed an HVAC issue others had missed. A few minutes later, Tyler appeared, dressed in the hotel maintenance uniform. He had filled out slightly, no longer carrying the gaunt look of someone perpetually underfed. His eyes widened in surprise when he saw Barron. "I didn't know you were coming," he said, extending his hand with newfound confidence. "Just had a meeting upstairs," Barron replied with a smile. "Do you have time for coffee?" "My shift just ended, so absolutely." In the hotel cafe, the dynamic between them had subtly shifted. Tyler sat straighter, ordered without hesitation, and when the server brought their order, he reached for the check. "Please," he insisted when Barron tried to intervene. "I'd like to." Once they were alone again, Tyler shared his progress. "I've been saving most of what I earn. Found a small studio apartment I'm moving into next week. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. And I started night classes to finish my GED." "That's impressive progress in 2 months," Barron observed. Tyler nodded. "The housing made all the difference. It's hard to focus on anything when you don't know where you'll sleep. But having that stability..." He paused, searching for words. "It changes how you see yourself, you know? How you plan." "Any challenges?" Barron asked. "Plenty," Tyler admitted with a small laugh. "I'm still learning the proper way to address guests who have special requests. And there was an incident with a broken pipe that taught me some expensive lessons about hotel plumbing." He stirred his coffee thoughtfully. "Some of the staff figured out I had a connection to you. That was awkward at first. People wondering if I was getting special treatment or if I'd report back to the Trump family about everything." He smiled. "But I think they've seen I'm just here to work." "And long term?" Barron asked. "What are you thinking?" "The building management systems interest me. There's a certification program I could do after I finish my GED. The head of maintenance said the hotel would help with tuition if I stay on." Tyler's eyes brightened with purpose. "In 5 years, I could be running a maintenance department myself." As they finished their coffee, Tyler grew more reflective. "My mom would have liked you, you know. She always said to judge people by how they treat those who can do nothing for them." He looked directly at Barron. "I won't forget what you did, but I hope someday I can pay it forward rather than back." Outside the cafe, as they prepared to part ways, Tyler hesitated. "Can I ask you something? Why did you stop that day? You must pass dozens of people like me all the time." Barron considered the question carefully. "I wish I had a profound answer. The truth is, I saw your eyes. You were looking at people, really looking at them, not just waiting for handouts. Something about that made me wonder about your story." He shrugged slightly. "Maybe the real question is why I don't stop more often." Tyler nodded in understanding. "Well, I'm glad you did that day." As Barron watched Tyler head back toward the employee entrance, he reflected on the unexpected ripple effects of that simple decision. In his position, it was easy to become numb to others' struggles or to throw money at problems without personal involvement. But meeting Tyler had reminded him that behind statistics about homelessness and poverty were individuals with stories, capabilities, and unrealized potential. His security detail approached, indicating it was time for his next appointment. As Barron walked through the opulent lobby toward his waiting vehicle, he passed hotel guests who would never know about the small drama of redemption playing out among the staff who served them. It was a private reminder that sometimes the most meaningful uses of privilege weren't grand public gestures, but rather the quiet removal of obstacles from another person's path. allowing them the dignity of walking it through their own efforts.